What is up, party people, and welcome to the channel. I'm Rhino Driver, a Super Hornet pilot based on the West Coast. I want to give a huge thank you to everyone that's been interacting with my content thus far. I never expected it to get as big as it has, and especially as fast as it has, so thank you. I'll try to keep it up as much as possible, as long as I have time, and as long as you enjoy it. But without further ado, we'll get into our questions. First, we have IPAN-RX33 asking about the helmet-mounted display. All modern American fighters, as well as most NATO countries, I believe, have some sort of JHMIX, or Joint Helmet-Mounted Cueing System. The JHMIX projects real-time pertinent flight info into the pilot and Wizzo's right eye, and also has the ability to manually cue the radar as well as AIM-9 missiles. Next up, we have Glizzy2051 asking if I have ever taken off from an aircraft carrier and what it was like my first time. And luckily for you, I actually have a video of my first time ever taking off an aircraft carrier. Welcome aboard CDN72, also known as the Stinkin' Lincoln. So, like I said, this is my first time ever taking off an aircraft carrier, so we're going to run through this video twice, and this first time around, we're just going to kind of see what was going through my head at the time. Alright, I'm looking forward. When does this thing take off? Like, how long does it take? Oh, shit! Alright, let's run it back and break it down just a little bit. Lined up on Cat 3 for the first launch of the day, wiping out the controls, doing our final checks. Before giving the green shirt a salute to let him know that we are ready inside the cockpit, he salutes back, make sure everybody's station looks good, all thumbs up around, gives the shooter in the bubble the thumbs up to let him know that we're ready to launch. Shooter presses the button, we go 0 to 150 knots in 300 feet, and up and away we go. So to answer your question, the catapult is a lot more violent than you think it is. I actually think it's more violent than taking a trap on the aircraft carrier. But nevertheless, it is exhilarating, and I don't think it will ever not be exhilarating. So much so that an instructor one time told me that if the cat shot was 2 seconds longer, it would be better than sex. So once I finally have sex, I will let y'all know. And if you notice in the video, I said that I was an Echo driver, but seemed to have a Wizzo in my back seat. That's because at the FRS, or Fleet Replacement Squadron, you have the unique opportunity to fly with Wizzos and practice what's called Tactical Crew Coordination, or TCC, to see if you would prefer flying a single-seat F-18 or a two-seat F-18, which leads me into my next question by Andu, who asks, what is the workflow like in the F-18 Foxtrot with the Wizzo in the back? As an easy answer, what's typically joked about with the F-18 is that it is a 101% aircraft, meaning it is too much for one person, but not enough for two. That being said, I really enjoyed having a Wizzo. It makes the pilot's life really easy, because then all the pilot has to do is focus on flying while the Wizzo handles comms, they handle weapon systems, and it's just nice to have somebody to talk to in the cockpit. Moving into the topic of the day, the Su-30SM2, which is a part of the Flanker family. Russia actually has a separate naming convention from the US, and the Su-30 is just a variant of the Su-27, or adapted from the SM applies that canards are added. So it's like if America took the F-18, added canards, and called it the F-19 practically. But that is one of the identifying features, as well as its tandem seating arrangement, and then the easiest way to recognize a flanker is by its wanker in the back. The Su-30 is compared to the F-15 as it is the Russian Air Force's multirole all-weather fighter. The biggest upgrade from the Su-30SM standard that's sitting at the same BR is the upgraded radar, and it's upgraded to the N035 Urbis E radar that provides a massive deflection angle, allowing you to notch while maintaining a radar lock. And we have a saying in the Navy that is, have a boy before you deploy, because statistically, fighter pilots have a higher chance of producing girls. And this is most likely from the radar back lobes that come off the back of the radar. And while present, the thin layer of lead shielding in the firewall doesn't protect much, so it's just crazy to me that at full tilt, they have the full power of the radar blasting directly at them. Here in the rear, the Su-30SM2 has two Saturn AL-41 F1Ss, each producing about 27,600 pounds of thrust for a combined total of 55,200 at max afterburner. Russian engines often dump a lot more fuel into the afterburner versus their American counterparts, and this does lead to higher thrust outputs, but also leads to higher fuel burn rates. But this is why you also see Russian engines burning a bright blue versus American engines usually burning a subtle blue slash bright orange. And then finally, the AL-31Fs also allow for canted thrust vectoring for increased maneuverability at low airspeed. So let's see how this thing performs in game. I found my favorite tactic in this bad boy is to left climb to about 5 to 8 kilometers or 16 to 26,000 feet, and keeping it in that medium altitude gives you good maneuverability while also keeping good kinematics on the R-77s. And while it's not the most exciting gameplay like others where they're on the deck fighting, defending, I found it the most replicable to get these high kill games because, once again, using my tactics from before, you're kind of invisible to most people because they're just all down on the deck, worried about who they're getting shot by next, defending the whole time, and I'm up here singing a song, having a grand old time. So eventually I'm going to turn in, and I'm constantly probing around. So people are asking how I use my radar, and I'm constantly just moving it around, trying to find people to shoot, and I'm typically looking for nose-on enemies. So I'm going to finally loose some missiles here. First one at that Su-30. It prints as a Su-27, and people were mentioning it last time. Another Su-30. And I accidentally shoot the Typhoon here. I noticed it afterwards. That's the downside of having IFF on, as I mentioned in my last video. And you'll see in a second I commit fratricide. So I kill the dude he was chasing, and then kill him. So I'm sorry to him. If you're watching this, I apologize. And I felt bad in the moment, so I'm going to avenge him by shooting everybody else. And this thing can track up to 8 different missiles at a time, and as you can see on my Twiz, I like the wider band of view. I played with the narrower one that scans faster, but I found it mipples a little bit. And I've just found it more reliable overall. But send another one down to this dude. He's down pretty low. I just killed 2, and there's another one. And I see this F-18 that I shot earlier, just off to my left. I'm trying to stay outside of his nose field of view. But you can see I'm carrying 77s and 27s, so I carry 2 27ERs for the hard lock, just in case they are multipathing or something. So I send 2 this guy's way, 177, 127. And he does a good job of notching. Defeats the first one, defeats the radar guide, and I can't pick up another guide, so I lock him again, send a heat seeker his way with the hard lock, which is definitely the way you should do it, just in case they are pre-flaring. And I didn't think this one guides, so I shot another one, but as soon as it does, I get the severe, and he crashes into the ground. Now all I have is 2 missiles left, and I remember that there was an F-18 over here fighting somewhere. One got taken out, and there's one more. He's staying high, using my tactic from last time. So I'm just going to kind of get him into the nez. I'm waiting for a little nose turn on. There you go. Shoot the 77 at him. He doesn't see me. But he does a good job of notching that bad boy. And it looks like he's fighting multiple people at the same time, so I'll give it to him. But that one loses lock last minute, and he defeats it. So I'm going to hard lock him and send a 27 his way once he's nose on again, and he does the same to me. But I'm easily able to defend that one because he probably just pulled me to the inside of the missile seeker circle. So now I have no missiles left, but it's okay because a teammate takes him out. And that was the last bit of activity for the game, so I spend the rest of my time in this match attacking some ground targets, and I was RTB to try to reload, see if we could get the last kill. The cannon has 150 rounds of 30 mic, which when you have the opportunity, actually works pretty well, but somebody else gets the kill, and that's it for a 6-kill game, 7 if you count the fratricide. When trying to unlock everything, I found the best grinding method to take 2 77s, 2 73s, and then 4 of the incendiary bombs, and a lot of the people at top tier don't really go for bases, so I pretty much reliably got both of the bases on the left side if you just hug the ground and follow your team in. But here I'm kind of showing off the capabilities of having a radar that you can track enemies while also notch, because I don't even think they got a shot into me. Other than this MiG-29, that's a little bit high. And this thing has a pretty unreliable RWR when it's above or below it at all. It's pretty much only laterally that it actually works. So you can see it coming in and out here with a close call right there with the missile. That one would make you pucker a little bit. Coming in for a ground attack, this thing comes in with a pretty hefty loadout of KH-38MT missiles, 6 of them, which, while not as overpowered as the Spice bombs, have a pretty reliable IR lock-on from around 15 kilometers, which gives you pretty nice standoff range for most anti-air. That being said, this thing is an anti-air magnet. I can't tell you how many games I've played where I would have 6 or 7 missiles on me at a time from like 3 or 4 different AA stations, and so it would just be 3 or 4 minutes of gameplay footage of me just defending the whole time. But when you have a nice match like this where there's minimal anti-air, I'm just getting lit up by 1 ADATS. And it looks like that's him right there trying to get into position, so I'm gonna go ahead and shoot one at him. We have 5 out, 1's on a dead tank. Can't find any more to unload the last one, so I'm gonna go ahead and dive for the deck. As you can see, these missiles have a great loft. So sometimes you can even hit them from behind mountains or behind cover if you're high enough and they're far enough back. So I typically give myself a good amount of standoff range. Here I turn in at 6 kilometers, and normally I turn in at 12 to 10, but I only have 1 left, so I'm just trying to get it off and then go back to base to reload. Reloaded, ready to go, and you can see these maps that have the super close airfield right next to it. It's pretty nice, because as soon as you crest this ridge, right back into the IR looking for targets. Coming up over, not getting any pings of any sort. Trying to lock people from low incident angles is kind of hard, and especially when they're close to dead tanks. Of course, go up in the clouds. I gotta scud run a little bit, come back down below them, and just skirt the bottom. We're gonna go ahead and send a few down range. We got 4-way. Let's see how many of those do. Once again, you can see those loft angles, how they go up and then come back down. And it looks like 2 for 4 on that ground attack. But I was getting pinged by an F-16, so I'm going to go ahead and come over here, try to deal with the air-to-air so I can continue my ground attack. And I think he just spawned, so I'm kind of using these hills as cover from their spawn, trying to get my radar out to where I think he's going to be. And he just popped up there in the center. So we're going to go ahead, send 2 77s at him. I probably could have given a better angle between those two, just so it would make them harder to notch, because as you can see, he instantly notches both of them because he was flying perpendicular to us. So I select HMD so I don't give him any pings, and R73, but he gets taken out by our buck. So now the air is sanitized, we are back to our ground pound. Poor guy loaded into AAA. I kind of feel bad for him. Not much he can do against us unless he has the IR missiles, but even the Gepard with IR missiles is pretty easy to defend against. So it's going to pre-flare any incoming missiles if they were off the rails, but doesn't look like one even got shot at us. Go ahead and take out the LAV. Turning back in, going to try to get a strafe run set up, because we're all out of air-to-ground missiles, and it doesn't look like the match is going to last that much longer. But this AAA wants us something good, so I'm just going to give him a little flyby, waste some of his ammo as our team kind of closes in on him. As long as you make just small adjustments, AA cannot hit you, unless they just get super lucky. And there's a missile away, climb up into the clouds, give him some flares to distract him. And then we'll use these clouds as cover to make it harder to lock on us and come down on top. Get that air-to-ground sight ready. And I shoot a dead tank, but then I see him last moment as a teammate's calling in a nuke, and I was too desperate for the kill, so I splat into the ground for 7 total ground kills. The best tactic in this plane for ground attacks is to pop up just over a ridge, hopefully within 15 kilometers. Lock onto as many enemies as possible, shoot all 6 off, and then RTB. So in this, you can see I'll send 6 downrange. All within about 30 seconds, and then just go immediately land back at the airfield, which in my opinion is way too close to the battlefield for this BR. If you just want the nice release of dopamine, that's what this thing is really good at, because you can just easily lock up a bunch of targets, don't have to keep a laser designation or anything. As long as you see them on the thermal site, you can send them all down. Just kill as many people as you see. And then RTB, reload, do the same thing all over again. While also listening to this lady yell at you in Russian. What you don't want to do is get too greedy. So this thing is a hog, turns like a hog, especially when you're fast, closer to Mach, but the warhead on the KH-38 is massive, so sometimes you get amazing splash damage and kill 5 people with 3 missiles. But just as a realistic expectation for what your normal match will look like, I typically ended up just defending our friendly forces against enemy air, or just on the deck defending all the time versus enemy AA, especially with the introduction of the extra vehicles where you can spawn one without even having it on your lineup. I just could not get into a match where there wasn't 5 or 6 enemy AA up at once reliably. But the matches where I did, the KH-38 MTs definitely shined. But for every 4 or 5 people you kill, at least 1 or 2 of them are going to spawn into AA and try to revenge you. And this often leads to the inability to even get back to the map after going and reloading, so take with that what you will. But after playing top tier for so long, I'm excited to make some content about maybe some lower tier items before I return to probably the Gripen or something, but we'll see. So if there's something you want to see in particular, feel free to leave it down in the comments. Other than that, I give the Su-30SM2 an A tier classification. It's really good in top tier air RB and pretty good in ground RB, especially when you're not sitting there fighting all of the point and click air to air at the same time, but they will be gunning for you because you're just a massive RCS target, so do with that what you will. I still think it's worth the grind and had a lot of fun. If there are any comments, concerns, or corrections, as well as questions for the next video, feel free to leave them down below. Until next time, I've been Rono Driver. See ya!